Hi friends, thanks for tuning in. I thought I'd do a breakdown of his piece since I didn't get a chance to do a time lapse. First thing I did was find a skeleton in a position that I liked. In this case, I wanted myself to be sitting. Initially, I thought of adding a balloon, but I realized I was taking away from looking at the skeleton. So the way I like to clean my backgrounds, I like to use the object selection tool, then click select and mask, and use a refine edge brush tool. I am more than happy to show you that in another video. Okay, so I found a little heart that I liked, mask the background, and around the ribs, and add shadow to give it the illusion that it's inside. The tricky part was then to position myself in the same position as the skeleton. You can see why in my layers I have so many pieces of myself. I had to patch myself together. To create the transparency between myself and the skeleton, all pieces of me were grouped together and then masked on top, and playing with the opacity. And now the fun begins. I'm dropping in roses, and you can see that the shadows are not exactly where I want them to be. In order to redirect the shading, I use two layers. The two blending modes that I use are multiply and screen. Multiply always creates a darker color while screen captures the light. And to create a soft finish, I use a soft brush at a really low opacity, roughly around 6 to 10%. And I pretty much do this with every image that I insert. Now, if you don't like a particular color of an image, you can adjust it by using hue and saturation under adjustment layers, and color balance in this case. Now I will turn on the other layers and do the same process. The ladybug here is a great example of using multiply and screen. Looking at the original image, you can see it looks really flat. By using shadow and highlight, it gives this nice gloss effect. Here's another example of hue and saturation. One of my favorite details on this piece is this guy. Now you can see once I've cleared the background, the snake is yellow, but I just thought that it didn't go with this image, so I went into hue and saturation and changed the color. And you can see here the options are endless. And then back to adding shadows and highlights. And honestly, I think that's my favorite part. I just love sitting and just blending away. And then you can see on the snake here, I used masking to make it seem like it's wrapping through the bones. And now I'm just populating. And now another favorite detail of mine, the moss. I masked the background and used a brush that had a similar texture to grass. I then created a new layer, and you can already see it right here. I picked 2 shades of green I picked Stipple 12 from Natural Brushes, then head over to brush settings and customize the brush. Now adding a last little bit of touch, correcting the shadow and adding the highlights. Now that I'm finished with all the internal details, I create a group, that way it's easier to control all of them at once. I use curve adjustments to sharpen the shadow and color balance to match to my skin tone. And there you have it. Here's a finished look. And thank you so much for tuning in. Feel free to like and comment below. And if you guys like my content, make sure to subscribe.